Hello, everyone. This is Adam Meister, the Bitcoin Meister, the Disrupt Meister. Welcome to the One Bitcoin Show. Today is August the 8th. That's 8/8/2019. Strong hand. Be a unique beast. Value your wealth in Bitcoin. Having hype. Unconfiscatable. One Bitcoin equals one Bitcoin. Yeah, I'm offended by selling. Don't FOMO on altcoins. In motion. 5-digit realm. Okay, today is the August the 8th. Tomorrow is Friday, August the 9th. And around this same time tomorrow is This Week in Bitcoin. Because remember, this is the One Bitcoin Show. But tomorrow, Friday, is always This Week in Bitcoin. And Saturday is always the Beyond Bitcoin Show. But who is tomorrow's special guest? I said yesterday it was a guy that hadn't been on the show for a long time. Yes, tomorrow, Friday, August 9th, around the same time, Tone Vays makes his return to This Week in Bitcoin. Oh yeah, it's always a blast when Tone Vays and the Bitcoin Meister, Adam Meister, the Disrupt Meister, get together. So tune in tomorrow around the same time, Friday, August 9th. Tone Vays will be on This Week in Bitcoin. So that'll be a fun time. Okay. And yeah, there's some people that have asked me, like, yeah, why has Tone never been on your show before? You guys are newbies. If you knew that Tone had been on the show before, you probably have more Bitcoin than you have now. Pound that like button. All right, now, let's see. Hello, my elite friends. Always good to be with you here in the evening in Tel Aviv. Oh, you guys are elite. Remember that. That first goal is to get that one Bitcoin, then 2, then 3, then 10, then 100, then 200. All right. And yeah, you dudes are elite if you are Bitcoin holders. So few people around are Bitcoin holders right now. Now, who is this? This tweet from Defrost94. It is a clip. It's a video clip. For those of you who like fancy sets and graphics, pound that like button because you know you're not getting any fancy sets or graphics here. It's a CNBC clip. They're talking to Pomp and some guy on the show at the end of the clip. Now, I didn't see the whole show, but the end of the clip just really, it sums up the mainstream narrative and how it's so unfortunate that people think FUD like this is true. The guy says, he says it's reckless for you, Pomp, to say that Bitcoin is a safe haven with all the hacks. Okay, so the guy, I don't know if he's just trying to FUD it, or most likely he doesn't understand. He knows that there have been these exchange hacks, but what's that matter in terms of Bitcoin being a safe haven investment? If you truly own Bitcoin, you control your private key, so it can't be taken away from you. If you have it on an exchange, it's not your Bitcoin. I mean, it's ridiculous. Bitcoin itself cannot be hacked, but these people conflate the two to, I don't know what their rationale is. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they're just confused, but this is on CNBC, okay? So there are a lot of people interested in investments, interested in assets that hear this nonsense. And they don't think Bitcoin's a real asset because of that, when in fact it is the best asset out there. And I give the people credit who watch CNBC. At least they're interested in assets. They want wealth, because in order to get wealth, you have to have some type of asset. But when you have a guy on there saying with all the hacks, it's not a safe haven. You're reckless to say it's a safe. The guy's actually being reckless by spreading lies about Bitcoin, that it's hackable. I mean, again, so for those of you who don't get it to this very day, if you've got Bitcoin on exchange, it's really not yours. Because in fact, it can get stolen from an exchange. You got to get it on your Trezor, your Ledger, whatever way that you control your private key, it is yours. It's not getting hacked, okay? It's not getting hacked unless you give away your recovery seed. Never ever do that, of course. But watch the clip. And again, the clip was tweeted out there, not because of what the guy said in the last 2 seconds, but what the guy says in the last 2 seconds. That's my big takeaway from it, okay? I got I look at things a little differently than some people. I'm not in it for. There was some, big. The reason it was retweeted is because Pomp like burnt them or something. He said something. If you don't understand Bitcoin, you don't believe in cryptography. Burn. Okay, great. Yeah, that's not my big takeaway. Is that you got this is what mainstream people are still saying, that it's hackable, and that thus you're reckless for saying that it's. And again, it was definitely a weak reply, but people aren't going to think it's people who don't. People are going to say, "Oh, the guy said it's hackable," and they're going to keep on spreading that nonsense. All right. That's linked to below. Everything I talk about in this video is linked below. And of course, follow me on Twitter at TechBalt, TechBalt. That is, I'd say that's the epicenter of the Bitcoin Meister ecosystem, because I tweet out these shows and my audio podcast only shows. We're going to talk about the audio podcast in a second. And the interesting demographic that's been listening to the podcast. Maybe it's a foreshadow of things to come. I don't know. But here's Alistair Milne actually coincidentally commented about Pomp, not about that segment, but he says, it may seem crazy to some that Pomp has over 50% of his net worth in Bitcoin. However, anyone that held since 2015, when it was around $200, has nearly 60x. It would only have taken about a 1% allocation to get to a 50%, over 50% allocation now. So this is a really great point. If you're talking to some old school Bitcoin guy that's been holding since 2015, and you ask him what his allocation is in Bitcoin, it's going to be tremendous. And it's not because they made a tremendous initial allocation. It's 60x since then. So that is a beautiful way. If you had around 1% of your wealth in Bitcoin then, and you didn't touch your Bitcoin, well, now it darn well it's over 50%. And yeah, of course, I don't think it's a big deal to have over 50% of your wealth in Bitcoin. Heck, I think it's great. Again, right now I understand you can't start off with that 1% allocation. Maybe you will be, the same thing is going to happen again in 5 years. Is it going to 60x again? I don't know. You never know. It's worth it to try to get into 1%. Get 1% of your allocation into Bitcoin now, okay? If not more. Again, I'm not giving financial advice. I'm just saying, obviously, I don't even own a house anymore, okay? So clearly, my wealth is over 90% in Bitcoin, okay? I don't have a major asset. Besides, I don't have a house anymore. I sold my house. So there you go. So I don't think it's wrong to have over 50% of your asset. Bitcoin is the asset of the future. Of course, it's great to have over 50% allocated in Bitcoin. Yeah, listen, I mean, I'm walking the walk. Of course, I'm not over 90% in Bitcoin. All my wealth is in Bitcoin. Oh, well. I mean, that's the way I planned it out. That's the way I planned it. I knew I was like, I told myself, I'm going to get this, and I want a certain level of wealth by a certain year, and I attained it, and then some, of course. All right, yeah, it did better than I thought it would, which is great. Always a great thing. All right, so moving on. And again, plan it out. Again, it's you got to take action. You can't just talk. There's so many technical guys from back in 2015 who probably to this very day can explain all the technicalities of Bitcoin much more so than I can, but they never bought it. They were just like studying it as a science project. They talked the talk. They didn't walk the walk. They were talking such impressive technical talk. Did they actually buy it? No, they're still poor, some of those dudes. And that's really unfortunate. It's really unfortunate. You can go back to my videos. I said, buy 10. All right. And if you bought 10, you're pretty darn happy now. All right. The importance of, So let's talk about non-technical people, okay? I keep going back to this Dan Tapiero video. What was this, the 4th day in a row I mentioned it? It is linked to below. The traditional finance guy who was raving about Bitcoin, who said it's the truth machine, the security truth machine. This guy is not a technical man at all. This is a finance man. After thinking about this video more and more, this is this may be the most important non-technical interview of all time in Bitcoin. It really might be, because we need in the space, because there's so many people out there who they'll watch a technical video and that is the best thing ever. Oh, I love that technical guest that you had on. Oh, they explained so many things about the Liquid network and all this other technical aspects of the Lightning network, the Liquid also. And then the next step would be, well, what did you learn? And then these people aren't going to be able to tell you what they learned. Okay, and that's really important. That's important, because they didn't learn a darn thing. They think that, oh, this guy talks so much technical. They don't know if the person's even telling the truth with all the technical mumbo jumbo they're throwing out there. So sometimes you got, and again, you can enjoy, if that's a pastime of yours to hear people talk technical and not understand a word they're saying, yeah, I guess that's your thing, whatever. It's not very productive. For me, I know that this world has a lot more people in it that understand finance than understand technical computer science type of stuff, okay? And so Dan Tapiero, he's no computer scientist. He's no programmer. He is a finance guy, a man who's made himself incredibly wealthy. And he just lays it out there in terms of how this thing is changing the world, and it's a completely different asset class, and that you should just hold it. You should just hold it, okay? And the way he puts it all out there in this interview is very convincing, very persuasive, and I just don't see how anyone with some finance knowledge and who has dabbled in finance before won't at least be tempted to get into Bitcoin after watching this video. So that's why I think it is such an important video. You send it to your friends. You send it to guys that are in their 50s and stuff that have invested in the stock market. I mean, they will get, this might trigger them. This really might. Or I mean, even guys in their 30s and 20s and 40s who have maybe are scared off by some of the technical mumbo jumbo that is thrown out there about Bitcoin. You don't have to understand any of the technical stuff to appreciate the greatness of Bitcoin, okay? To understand what it can do for individuals across the globe, and what it means, the paradigm change that we are living through, that this is part of the golden age, baby. Pound that like button. And yeah, so, okay, maybe should I promise this is the last time I'm going to mention the Dan Tapiero video. I mean, I never even heard of the dude before, to be honest with you, but he rocked it. I mean, that was a grand slam freaking video, man. And it was the Brazilian guy interviewed him. I think he's Brazilian, or he's, what's the guy's name? I don't even know the guy's name that interviewed him. It sounds like a Portuguese name. Anyway, moving on. Bitcoin is the cure for self-censorship. Pound that like button. You know, there are so many people, and I've conveyed this message in so many different ways. When you work for a corporation, or when you value fitting in, you are not going to say certain things, okay? Because you don't want to lose your job, you don't want to lose your friends, you don't want to lose your status, okay? You don't want to lose your wealth. You don't want to get canceled, okay? This is cancel culture that we're living in. Okay, so people self-censor. That's the worst type of censorship out there. Not someone YouTube banning your video. When you make a YouTube video, but you're scared to say what you really mean, okay? And that Bitcoin is the cure for that. Bitcoin, if you value your wealth in Bitcoin, if you got a stockpile of Bitcoin, well, who cares if you get fired? Who cares if you lose your friends? They're not really friends. Who cares about fitting in? You're in the Bitcoin overlay, man. You can say what you want. I mean, and that's why I say what I want, because over 90% of my wealth is in Bitcoin. It's not. I don't have a job. I don't have a traditional job. I don't have a traditional job. I can't get fired. Don't have a house that can get stolen from me. don't have an easy little target like a house that could get vandalized if people don't like what I. You know, and that's extreme. No one should ever do such a thing. But again, that's Bitcoin is a cure for it's freedom, baby. It is freedom in the Bitcoin overlay. So I invite you to join me here on this faraway island that is so nearby. Okay, October 17th to 24th. I've mentioned this before. I leave, well, first of all, I'm here in Israel until September 25th. And then I'm in Baltimore between September 25th and October 17th for the Jewish high holidays and to take care of some things with my family. And I always got to go back to Baltimore at least 4 times a year. But October 17th to the 24th is the first leg of my Australian trip. I will be in Sydney, Australia, that week. And then for the next month, October 24th to November 24th or so, I will be in Adelaide, Australia. But I'm bringing all this up again because I know most of you here on YouTube, you watch my show. Here, you watch the one Bitcoin show. But there's a growing number of people who like the podcast version of the show. Great. They don't like fancy sensor graphics. They don't need to see my face. That's great. I mean, you really don't. They're actually paying attention to the content, and they don't need a chat or anything like that. So the audio, again, sportsmeister.com, the podcasts are there. Anchor hosts them, and then it distributes them and everything. But I've been looking at the numbers, okay? And in Australia, there's like an overrepresentation. It's really grown fast in Australia. The podcast number, not the YouTube numbers, it's always been around like 2% of my YouTube viewers have been like from Australia. But on the podcast, it's like 20% or so. It's really high all of a sudden. And most of them are from Sydney, where I'm going to be. So I hope to meet some of you dudes. Maybe you're listening right now. Now, why do you guys think this is? It might be because the podcasts are posted at odd times, which aren't odd times in Australia, okay? They might be very good times that they get posted. Maybe Australian people appreciate podcasts more. Maybe they're better with listening comprehension than the rest of the world. Again, it's my number 2 country on my podcast. It's like number 4 on the videos. Again, it's USA, Britain, and Canada are the top 3. It makes sense with the videos. And then Australia. But again, Australia beats Britain and Canada on the podcast. So, I mean, maybe you guys have some theories. It might be the timing. Might be the listening comprehension. I don't know, but I'm happy to see everybody and I will be seeing quite a few people, especially that first week in Sydney, because I do know a few, definitely some people that have been on this show before. Haas, obviously, I will see him and he will appear on the show. But we've got some behind the scenes stuff I'm working on. I don't know if I'm privy. I can say. Anyway, there's a female from Sydney who's been on the show before, Adriana, who's great. She's been on the show before. This Week in Bitcoin show, and she's big there. And hopefully we're working some things out over there. So we'll see what happens. She's great. And so I'm excited about going to Sydney. All right, but maybe some of you guys in the notes, or if you're listening on the podcast, you can email me at adam@tresorhealth.com or follow me, DM me at TECHBALT on Twitter and tell me what's up with people from Sydney just like loving the podcast. Because again, it's Australia is big on the podcast, and then out of Australia, it's coming from Sydney. All right. So I'll be happy to be there. And again, even if the numbers weren't that way on the podcast, I love going to Australia. I've been to Australia every single year since 2015. And I'm trying, and again, this is my second time in Sydney, but most of the trip will be to Adelaide. And I've never been there before. So I'm excited. Now I've been, after Adelaide, I've been in the top 6 cities in Australia in terms of population. So I'll be able to give everyone a full report on which one is my favorite. Each one has an awesome quality to it. I will tell you that. I love Australia. I don't like the sun in Australia though, man. That thing is powerful. It burns you. Yeah, I got to put thick sunscreen on me when I'm running, and I'm dark. Okay, man. Oof, and you don't run at noon there. Oh my God. All right, keep on innovating. So here's a technical article from Bitcoin Magazine. All right, now I'm talking about technical stuff that I don't understand. The first part I definitely understood of this article. Is it by Aaron Van Weerden? I don't even know. But this is, again, the second half does get technical. So some of you might lose it. I lost it in the second half. What is this here? Revamped idea, Bitcoin vaults may end exchange hacks for good. The revamped idea for Bitcoin vaults may end exchange hacks for good. And Yeah, it's basically 2 private keys. And if you steal one, then the other one will get the funds back. Read it. It's not a perfect thing, but but there's some logic in it. If a hacker that's trying to hack an exchange knows that it's a Bitcoin vault type of address, they probably just won't bother, because there's a way where it can end up where the hacker gets nothing, but then the exchange ends up with nothing. And no one ends up with anything, which would be bad. But then why would a hacker even try to hack it at that point? So anyway, read the article. It does get technical at the end, but it's innovation. And I say, keep on innovating, people, technical people, finance people, marketing people. This is the space. This is the space to be in. If you're complaining, you got no excuse. Come over and compete, get a real asset, and live in the golden age and show your creativity, people. All right, guys, around the same time tomorrow, Friday, Tone Bay's on the This Week in Bitcoin show. Follow me on Twitter at TechBot. I'm Adam Meister at the Bitcoin. I'm Adam Meister at Bitcoin Meister, Disrupt Meister. Remember, subscribe to the channel. Go to disruptmeister.com. Disruptmeister.com to see all my old videos. I will probably say hi to you dudes in the chat if all is going well. See you soon. Bye.